Hey folks, Alex here, 95 to Freedom. In today's video, we're going to talk about my 4 favorite funds. We're going to talk about how I build my portfolio and my plans for the future. Going to talk about what's going on in the market and take a look at some funds that look interesting for this week. So let's get started, folks. We don't have a lot of time. Okay, so the first thing is a huge shout out to all my new subscribers. We've crossed 2,500 subs. This is amazing. Just the amount of volume I've been getting with new subs and the comments and everything that's been going on in this community. So really happy about that. And yeah, so wanted to touch on that. Let's talk about the market. So we had, as you know, a pullback on Friday. S&P 500 down 1.6%. NASDAQ was down over 2%, 2.24. And there was just a lot of news that came out. We had poor job performance. We had the tariffs on the August 1st deadline. And we had the rates that were not being lowered. So those, I think, combination of all of those three things really impacted our portfolios. Now, we know that going back to April of this year, we had a very significant pullback. And for those of us who stuck to our guns, we were able to really recover that in a matter of a few months. So I think that's just a good lesson for all investors to not to panic, to look at their investments as a long-term solution, not something that's short-term. Now, let's talk about the funds, right? So if you guys been tracking me since beginning of this year, back in January when I started this channel, I started to have interest into the various dividend producing ETFs and funds. So what I was doing, I was tracking, and if you guys remember, this was really my original tracker. I had over 30 different type of ETFs over the past 7 months that I've been playing around with, and I've been testing them and their performance. And as I found new ones, I would drop ones that I was not really in favor of. And this is really going down memory lane at this point. As you can see, this is my original portfolio here. I had positions such as QQQI, JPQ, FEPI, RTDE, XPay, YMAG, YMAX, USA, FEPI, US, this is another fund here, Coney, CLM, CRF, and TSLP. So a lot of these funds that I was testing with, for one reason or another, I ended up dropping a lot of these. For example, let's talk about here QQQI and SPY, which I did have briefly, which is not on this one. Actually, I really like those two funds, but they are a monthly payer, and I found alternatives that were able to get me the weekly pairs, which I really enjoyed. And these other ones that have really been around the block the longest, like JPQ and JEPI, although they're not bad funds in themselves, they're just other products that were newer and were doing a much better job with their performance in relative speaking relatively. So let's take a look at the new fund the new portfolio that I've built, and this was really after I've deposited most of the money back in March, and I've had funds like XDTE, QDTE. I had funds like NVIDIA, PLTY, Coney, AMD, Hui, SMCY, and Misty. And over time, I've added funds such as Tesla, TSMY, and most recent, which I've had the largest position on Alti. Now, what is the ultimate portfolio for myself? Now, folks, for those who are, new to this channel, I don't give out any financial advice. Everything that I'm sharing is my own journey, and I'm just here to document it. So don't follow my investment strategies. This is just for your information entertainment purposes only. Now, what is my ultimate portfolio? And really, that's something that I've been really focusing on for the past few weeks, is trying to identify what are the top performers. So one of the things that I did look at was in TradingView, which is a free platform that you can do. You can plot all of the different funds in here, and you can see their performance across, any time frame that you wanted to focus in. So let me zoom in here. I plotted a lot of these in here. So this is a little bit congested, but we'll take a look at, we'll start with the year to date. Okay, so as you can see, I plotted a lot of the funds that I've held in here: QDT, XDT, SPY, BTCI, ULTI, all these ones. And on the right side of the screen, you can see their year-to-date performance. Now, what I have in here right now is I do have the dividends built into this performance, right? So one of the funds, and really this was kind of a shocker for me, SCHD. Okay, this is probably one of the most popular funds for the dividend community. This one's been it's been around for forever at this point. Let me get my face out of the way. And I was really shocked of how low it's actually performed this year for the year to date. So it's down 4.72%, which was really shocking. Now, let's take a look at some of the top performers. We'll start from the top here. Hui, which is on Robinhood. It's the Yield Max option play that they're doing on Hood stock, right? So this one's up 59.4% year to date, which is just phenomenal. And going down the list here, you can see AMD, YBTC. This is on Bitcoin from Yield Max. BTCI. This is from Neos. This is one of my favorite ones, and I'll explain to you in a minute. You can see Misty here, ULTI, and then I threw in just some index funds like QQQ and SPY just for our comparison. We have Coney, QQQI, AMZ, SPY, SMCY. So you can see all these perform. Now, obviously, as we adjust the dates, these are going to rank differently because it all depends on what time you're actually buying into them and how they're going to perform after that. So it's tough to say, okay, if we look at 1 year back, which is the largest performer, so we're just going to put all money on that. That time frame to buy and make the money on it might be long gone. So whatever performed really well in the past doesn't mean that it's going to guarantee the same results in the future. And especially with ones that are tied to a single stock. Anything like Hui, SMCY, AMD, Misty, these are all, they only have one stock underlier. And that's one of the risky parts of holding a lot of money into funds like that, in my opinion, is that they could have only a very short window of being a stellar performance until they have a pullback. So you don't want to be really stuck with them. And I think those are the type of funds that are great for short-term plays. They could be anywhere between 1 month to 6 months whenever there's a bull run on the underlier. And that's really what I've learned doing this for the past 7 months. So what are we looking for really for the ultimate performance? Well, one of the qualifications for me, and this is something that I've kind of learned over time, is what am I looking for? Well, I'm looking for something that's going to give me a very nice dividend that's going to be tied to something that's diversified. So either something tied to the NASDAQ, something tied to the S&P 500, or maybe even the Magnificent Seven. I'm just looking for something that's diversified across the spectrum. And the other thing that I want to see is I want to see a routine payout. So that has to be at least once a month. Now, there's certain ones out there like USA, for example. That fund it's a quarterly payer, and I've held that fund for like 1 quarter, but really, you're only getting a payment every 3 months, and it's if you're trying to build a machine that's going to replace your income, you want it to mimic very similar to as you're getting a paycheck from your employer. So I really like seeing the at least a monthly, but preferably I love seeing the weekly payouts. And really over time, if we go back to my portfolio here, over time I've trimmed down my positions, and I've trimmed down my risk with the singles in the last few weeks. I got rid of all the ones that are single payers, and I've had some success with them. For example, Misty, as you can see here, I've made over $8,500 in dividends on Misty. So That was really nice play there. Hui, I only had it for short term. Now this is one that I've made a mistake. I should have kept this one for a longer play because Robinhood has been on a huge run. Plady was another one that I made some good money on. I've made over $4,000 on PLTY. And Vidi, we had a nice run, 2,200 bucks on that one. And Coney, I only held this one for 1 month. So really, like I said, I'm trying to diversify into funds that are well diversified. So I've trimmed down my position on all of these funds. And really, I got down to just holding. Well, actually, I still have SMCY. I haven't sold it because we had a huge pullback. So my portfolio was really down to these 5 funds as of just a week ago. Now with what I was seeing in the market, with what was going on with Bitcoin, I did receive some very nice dividends from BTCI, and overall its performer, I was up at one point like 15% on BTCI, and that was when Bitcoin was at its all-time high. Now, what I've done recently is I sold my whole position because I started to see Bitcoin become on a downtrend. So I got out of it. I took my profits and I rolled that into Alti. Now, unfortunately, I rolled into Alti right before we had this pullback that we've seen last week. And obviously, hindsight 2020, if I would have known the pullback would be so dramatic, I probably would have hold off a little bit and bought at the dip. But we can't tell the future. If you know the future, you wouldn't be watching YouTube videos, right? So let's take a look at these 5 funds, and really that's going to be my breakdown. Okay, I'm going to show you. This is a little chart that I made here, and this is for me my ultimate portfolio. And my ultimate portfolio would have something like XDT. Now, I did have SPY-I. SPY-I is a great one from Neos. It pays monthly. It pays around like 14%, something like that. But what I like about XDTE is that it pays weekly and it pays around 32% per year. It's a nice, steady performer that doesn't erode, that has some fluctuations with whatever the market's doing, but it's diversified in the S&P 500. I like QDT. This one is from Round Hill, just like XDT is. And this one is on the NASDAQ. So I have exposure, a more concentrated exposure to the top tech companies in America. Now this one, again, you can compare it to QQQI, which is from Neos. And QQQI pays somewhere around, 12 to 14% as well. And that one is a monthly payer. I like QDT because it's a weekly payer, and it's holding up its NAV as well. So those two, if I'm looking at my ultimate portfolio now, as far as the percentages here, I'm going to tweak that. As of right now, my main concern is what are the top 5 funds that I want to hold, and moving down the wheel here, we see BTCI. Now this one, like I said, I've sold, but I really want to get back into it. I want to have some Bitcoin exposure, and BTCI is from Neos. It's been a stellar performer. It grows in value as the price of Bitcoin goes up very well. It doesn't overpay. It's only paying monthly, and it's paying around 28% in dividends. But we're getting that nice exposure to Bitcoin, and I really enjoy the way it's been performing. Alti, obviously, if you've been around my channel, you see that I'm very bullish on Alti. And one of the reasons I went bullish on it is the fact that it's very well diversified. I feel like this is, in my opinion, a buying opportunity, especially with the huge pullback that we recently had. Now, Alti is a weekly payer, which is amazing. It's paying around 10 cents per share, and currently you can pick up a share for around $6. We're going to monitor Alti because this is our largest position at this point, but over time, I think I'm going to figure out that sweet spot for Alti. Will Alti represent 50% of my portfolio? Will it represent 25%? I'm not sure at this point, but I know I want to be in Ulti as what I'm seeing its performance as of right now. Now, the fifth position here is the question mark, right? And the question mark is going to be whatever I see momentum's happening. Now, how do we find momentum? Well, we find it by just tracking some of the top performers. Now, this week, folks, is if we go to Yahoo, right? There's a nice article here. More than 100 S&P 500 companies are reporting earnings in the week ahead. So if we want to look for something that has momentum, for us to jump in maybe for a week, maybe for a month, that has potential to grow, and that could be, you know, any of these tickers that we're having these earnings that they're expecting good earnings. Found this website here, sectorspdrs.com. Okay, so this will give you all of the earnings that are happening every single day. Now, as you can see here, let's go back to let's see, Monday, August 4th. Okay, we have 10 different earnings that are coming. Let's see if we know any of these companies. Okay, really not familiar with these ones. Let's go to August 5th. Now, August 5th has some of the ones that I'm actually holding. SMCI, which is the underlier of SMCY. So if Supermicrocomputer has good earnings, if there's potential for the stock to go up, then this could be something that would make sense to enter. Now, there's some other ones in here that just scrolling through here, I was able to see. Palantir. We've held Pleiady in the past. It's been a stellar performer. AMD. It's been really picking up steam as of recently. And yeah, so you're able to really scroll through here and you can kind of see some of the stuff that we're expecting earnings on. And we can, you know, we can be flexible. We can enter a position that there's you know, strong points to good earnings and to be able to capitalize on that momentum and get that dividend. So I think that's a great way to kind of shop around and to mix something into our portfolio. So that wouldn't be a position that we would hold forever. It would just be something that we would circulate around. So really, that's I think that's going to be my strategy as of right now. And I'm really loving these 4 funds here. And again, for this week, maybe I'll get into you know, a position on Pleiady, maybe something on AMD, and take a look on how those perform. Now, if I get it wrong, obviously, you know, that might affect the share price of the ETF that we're buying to get that dividend. But you know, this is where you have to really do your research. So let me know what you guys think of these funds that I really enjoy. Again, you know, this isn't, I'm not telling you guys to go out and buy these, but I've really enjoyed them, the way that they've been performing. And the past 7 months, I've really come to the conclusion that I want to have the diversification that these funds provide. So that's going to be the video for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully you enjoyed my new background. So if you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to this channel, and we'll see you on the next video. Thank you, folks.